Chapter 13, Episode 5. Sarah didn't make it to the backyard. After seeing all the people in the house, she didn't want to stay. She could control herself if she had to. She didn't have to. Suzanna had her friends to talk to. Sarah would just go for a ride and come back later. She had been to enough parties to know the quickest way to borrow a car without permission. She had done it a few times. It was always a thrill. This was the first time she thought to do it at a party where quite a few people knew her. She needed a car. What better selection than a pile of expensive jackets at a party of rich kids? Big parties often had one room dedicated just to jackets. Sarah wanted to find the kitchen to have a look at the party. The kitchen opened to the back deck. She could see that there were many people in the backyard, but many more in the kitchen. She smiled at a few people on her way to a counter with the drinks. She made herself a drink, soda water. She watched a smoker standing at the border of the kitchen to the deck, being careful to blow the smoke away. He was talking to other people in the kitchen about his Tesla. Sarah watched and listened. She moved over closer to them and took a couple party pretzels and leaned against the counter. There were two people beside Sarah in a serious conversation about someone new who was such a bitch. She didn't know who the two girls or the bitch were. She tried not to hear them while she listened to the young man explain that all he needed was to open his app on his smart device. Sarah glanced over to see which app. Then she looked away again, turned around to get an olive and a cracker. He had put his smart device in his pocket of his jacket until he was finished his cigarette. Sarah needed one more thing before she could think about taking his smart device. She knew she wouldn't have to wait long. He would have to get the urge to take his smart device out again and show Sarah how to unlock it. Most people liked a pattern. It wasn't even necessary to see the numbers. If she believed in signs, she would have figured the god of car thieves had told her it was her ride. He used a Z and closed it to make it an 8 or infinity. It was getting warm in the kitchen. Sarah took off her jacket and took note of the jacket of the Tesla owner and left the kitchen when she heard, "Can you take mine too?" Someone actually took the Tesla jacket. The Tesla owner did not have his smart device in his hand. Maybe the smart device was being freely given to Sarah. She looked at some art on the wall and waited to see if the jacket came out of the kitchen. It did. And as far as Sarah could tell, the smart device might be in it. She looked at another painting and noted that the girl with the jacket was going upstairs. A teammate slapped Sarah on the ass as she rushed by on her way to the backyard. "Hey Sarah! Hey Chantal!" Sarah found a pile of jackets in the master bedroom upstairs. She listened for a second before she went inside. The jacket was on top of the pile. Sarah reached in the pocket to discover that the smart device was in the jacket. She made her letter and finished with infinity, and it opened. Sarah put her jacket on and the smart device in her pocket. She went back downstairs. She picked up her glass of water that she had left at the bottom of the stairs on a little table, mostly just to use as a prop. Fit in. She wandered towards the front entrance, sipping her water and noticing artwork. She didn't know much about it. She had her smart device in her hand to see if Suzanna had texted. No one had texted. They had only been at the party 36 minutes. She went out the front door and stood on the steps looking at her smart device for another few seconds to focus on what she was doing. She set her drink down outside on a windowsill and pulled out the stolen smart device. How to open a Tesla. She spotted the T and opened the app. It wasn't in the drive. She didn't remember seeing a Tesla on the way up the street. She chose the other way. After a minute, she saw it. No tailpipe. It was red. It was space age elegant. A real monster. It wasn't even supposed to be in production yet. She knew it. Her father was talking about buying one. Half the men on the planet wanted one. Her father didn't drive. Didn't mean he wouldn't buy one. She almost changed her mind about taking the car. It was not a subtle drive. Did not fit in. It was a very different thing. Its very existence mocked the internal combustion engine. Electric cars will never. And yet, there it was. It said to the cars of the last millennium, "Piss off, your time is done." The cops would find it as soon as it was reported. But the door was open and she sat in the seat to think about the significance of stealing the fastest production car on the planet. She had driven fast cars before, but not electric. And electric cars were different, especially this one, space age. It was a crazy machine. She had to set the onboard computer. She checked the internet to see how to reject AI-assisted driving. She wanted to drive. The point of her mission was the driving, not being transported somewhere. Fuck it. Let's see if you can do what they say. Sarah had taken a few minutes to figure everything out before she was ready to turn on the engine. There wasn't one. A motor, or more than one. She had no idea and didn't care. She wanted to drive. She told the navigator to direct her to Philadelphia. She wasn't sure where she was going. Philadelphia was the direction that appealed to her. She would ditch the car and find a different one for a drive back. She was first amazed at how smooth it moved, and quick. Without a sound, she could zip by other drivers. She decided against the speed limit. She wanted to see what the car could do. She tested the brakes at 60 miles an hour, slowing to 20 and then speeding up to over 100. She stayed over 100 miles per hour. There would be tickets to pay. Maybe someone would lose their license. She tapped the computer looking for some music. She settled on Black Keys. She didn't know who they were. It was most recently played. She liked it. It was like the sound of a well-tuned engine from an old-fashioned gasoline-powered engine. Sarah smiled and drove faster.